Hiya, and welcome back to my farm. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things, but before I show them to you, I just want to have a very quick discussion here. What I'm about to show you, it took me a reasonable amount of time to get these bits on my farm, but after I finish this video, I will be going back to an earlier version of this map before I did these bits. Now, I'll explain the reasoning behind that as well. Whenever I play Farming Simulator, I turn the autosave off. The reason I turn the autosave off is often I do things, I try things out and I don't like the result, so I go and I just quit the game without saving and then go back to prior to before I did those things. And in some cases I even keep older saves so I can go back to an earlier version of the same save if I want to. And this is going to be one of those cases. Now, the reason I'm going to do that is I don't like using the placeable cars and things in this game. I find the poly count on them is too low and the detail on them just isn't good enough, and I like to play very highly detailed maps and very highly detailed vehicles. So where I want parked cars, I'd rather park real cars and just use the locking app, the locking mod that I've got to stop, so I don't need to tab into those vehicles. But the reason I'm going to go back to an earlier version where these two things I'm about to show you aren't there is because obviously having too many vehicles on this map has caused the map to it's just too much for my GPU, and I've noticed that the game's beginning to lag slightly, so I want to get rid of those. So we'll jump in the Range Rover here, and I shall take you and show you these two bits. Bearing in mind though, this is the only video you'll see them on, because as I said, I will be going back to an earlier version of this map after making this video, just because of the lag that I'm getting from these. So the first place I want to show you, we'll just indicate here, is Southwards Tractor and Agricultural Museum. Now it's called Southwards Museum because if I bring up the map for a moment, this museum is on this road here that's between fields 57 and 229, and it's heading south off the bottom of the map, hence why it's Southwards Museum. Now Southwards Car Museum, which is a real place, is not very far from where I live here in New Zealand, so that's also where I got the name from. Okay, so just park here for a minute. And this is what I mean about when I want vehicles in a car park, I always use real vehicles rather than placeable ones, just because the detail level is a lot higher than the placeable vehicles are quite low quality mods and not very much detail. But let's go into Southwards Tractor and Agricultural Museum and have a look around here. So we can see here we have a cart which is pulled by a couple of Clydesdale horses. I've always loved Clydesdale horses, absolutely loved them, and so I quite like that mod. And an oxen pulling a very narrow plough. It's only got one plough share on it. A couple of big bud tractors. Now yes, I'm very well aware that the big bud 747 there's only one of those ever made, and it's actually in a museum in the States now. I don't remember what state. I did Google it and find out a wee bit about it, but I don't recall what museum, what state it's in now. But at the end of the day, it would be conceivable that one museum could lend a vehicle to another museum, so I suppose it's conceivable that this could end up in a museum in Ireland momentarily. And there's a Zeta tractor there, and an old Porsche tractor, and a John Deere Model A tractor there. I quite like these tractors to have the steering column that runs over the top of the bonnet like that. I think they look really cool. And there's a Case steam engine or traction engine here. That one's quite a low quality mod because it was a mod that was designed for, I can't remember, I think FS15 was the first one to ever have that mod, and it's just been ported across and across to each version of the game, but they haven't really done anything with the mod to improve the looks of it as they ported across. In fact, to give you some idea of what a poor quality it is really, when you hop into it, you can't even see yourself in it there. So, but that's the only traction engine that's on the game that I could find, so I had it. And then there's two Farmall tractors here. Now, Fury Machine Gaming is very, very familiar with these tractors. He owns one in real life and has very kindly lent it to the museum here in Ireland. So that was very generous of Fury Machine Gaming. Yeah, I want to show you the other. Did I leave my engine running? Oh, I think I did. Look at that, I did. I left my engine running accidentally. So that's to show you some old tractors in the game. Now let's go and have a look at some new tractors. So, getting out this way. The wife's car here could definitely do with a clean. Funnily enough, whenever I play maps, I download the Dirtynator, which is another mod. It looks like the water pressure hose, but does the opposite of the water pressure. It actually makes vehicles dirtier instead of cleaning them. And when I first start a map, I normally spray some dirt over all my vehicles and all my equipment because I like the look of dirty vehicles on the maps. It adds, in my opinion, an awful lot of realism. Farm vehicles wouldn't get cleaned that often, and yeah, to me it was one of the huge improvements between, I think from memory FS 17 was the first one where vehicles get dirty. I know they definitely couldn't on 13, and I'm not 100% certain about 15, but I think they couldn't get dirty then either, and 17 was the first one that had mud. So yeah, I used the Dirtynator just to give all my vehicles a bit of a dirty sheen to them. Now, is that going to be far enough off the road? I'm not causing a traffic jam. Possibly not actually. Let's just no, that'll cause a traffic jam for sure. So let's just park in here a wee bit, I think, just to get this out of the way, because I don't want to cause a big traffic jam. That'll do us right there. So, and here we are at a local agricultural show where all the dealers from around the place come to display their newest wares, tractors and things to try and make some sales. Now, one thing that I did do in this show, as well as having all the flags there that say all the tractors, is that obviously in real life the dealers that came to display at such a show would be displaying tractors they hope to sell to the local farmers. And because this map is made up of small fields and medium fields, I don't think they'd sell any of these huge tractors like what you're seeing here, and there's even bigger ones over this way further if you came over here. So I don't think, in all honesty, that any of the manufacturers would bring big tractors like this to show off at a show, because they're not tractors that local farmers are going to be interested in buying. But I like the look of these tractors. Obviously I can't run them on a map this small, but I like to use the excuse of the tractor show just to display some of these big tractors that are way too big to use. So I do it, and I don't care that it's not the kind of tractors that would actually end up being on display at any tractor show like this. And you can see I've got there's New Holland, there's Case, there's Class, there's John Deere, there's Massey Ferguson over here, and is that it? New Holland, Massey Ferguson, John Deere, Case and Class. Yes, there's 5 different tractor manufacturers that have come to display at this show, and it was my intention to keep this set up and keep the museum set up there as well. But as I said, the problem is that you always have at least one concentration of vehicles on a map, because you're always going to have a lot of vehicles in the same small space in your yard. And I think what's happened here in this particular case is that having 3 concentrations of lots of vehicles on my map, with the museum plus the show here plus my farmyard, is just a bit too much for my computer and the GPU can't handle it, and I think that's what's probably causing a wee bit of lag to occur now. But since I put so much work into actually doing those, the tractor show and the museum, I wanted to show you all around them before I went back to a previous version that didn't have them. So there you go, we can head back to the farm now. And you might get to see some of the lag that I'm talking about. No, maybe not. It seems to be behaving itself right now, but it certainly had lagged when I first finished them and was looking around a bit. So yeah, I think it's just a wee bit too much for my GPU on my computer. So I'm going to go back to a version where I don't have the tractor show and I don't have the tractor museum. What I may try later on is to put in a tractor show without the people, just having the Eurotunnels and the tractors and the flags, but with no people there, and not have the museum, and see if it can handle that. And I could just make that a temporary thing that I put in for the summer months and not actually something that I have set up permanently. But I don't know. Certainly it won't be something I do straight away, because I want to get on with doing some actual farming again after I go back to an earlier version of this. But that's what I wanted to show you today, so hope you enjoyed the look of that, and I will see you all again later. Thanks, bye.